views and opinions expressed on Geeks Under the Influence are that of the panelists and not of our sponsors, Amazon.com and TeePublic. Parental discretion is advised.
So I didn't think that we'd be doing 2 episodes in a row where it's just an animated or claymated version of just like gory superhero, but
I really wasn't expecting the gore. I thought it was going to be like cheesy American Dad style kind of comedy.
Well, and that's the thing is that, you know, you've got Invincible, which the first 3/4 of the first episode is entirely like lovely superhero animated series that you wouldn't think anything twice about until it gets gruesome.
Right.
And then you've got this new thing, M.O.D.O.K, where the trailer has Semi-Charmed Life by Third Eye Blind in the soundtrack as all the crazy stuff is happening, and it looks like just fun hijinks. But then you look into it and realize that it's actually the robot chicken people, and go, okay, well, there's probably a little bit more to it.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
No, that tracks now.
Yeah, we watched a lot of gummy bears die in terrible ways on Robot Chicken.
And you can tell that Seth Green is the voice of many characters in the M.O.D.O.K series as well. I think the main one-armed AIM employee that is Gary. I think that's Seth Green that is doing the voice of that as well, which I love that is just a faceless character that is now beloved. Like, I love that character so much.
Oh, yeah. Like, there's actually a couple of AIM agents that are like that, and Gary's one of them. I think the other big one shows up in Deadpool. He's the random...
Bob.
Yeah, Bob.
Bob from Hydra, yeah. Which is an actual character in the comics.
Right.
That it's in the Deadpool comics where it's just like one of his buddies, or I don't know if it's buddies or he's just like weirdly obsessed with Bob from Hydra.
Yeah.
And just bothers him a lot. Yeah, I think that's just what Deadpool calls friends. People that he just decides that he's connected to in some way, shape, or form.
I mean, that's his entire relationship with Wolverine.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Much to our joy that he's a weird...
That it's been carried over into the real world between Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman.
It's so great. I love their combination commercials that they've done for their stuff, where it's like coffee and then aviation gin.
Yeah.
That they're playing off one another and doing their own versions of commercials, and it's totally just playing into that frenemy kind of attitude. It's so great. But I feel like there's definitely that kind of tongue-in-cheek, demented attitude that is just soaking into every single cell of M.O.D.O.K. On Hulu.
Like, it's definitely like the demented sitcom where it's the bumbling dad and the hyper-competent mom, but like twisted, which is what The Simpsons and Family Guy and all of them were trying to like deconstruct, and then like you realize these characters are pretty much evil after the first 5 seasons. Like, no, we're going to jump straight to their evil.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I do love the weird dynamic that it's known that M.O.D.O.K is evil. Like, oh, honey, you like tried to subjugate the populace again. Like, oh, I'm sorry, it didn't work out so well. Just like fully aware that she married like a supervillain.
Yep.
And is on board. Is not against it at all. Is totally fine with it. Gets covered in blood multiple times during this show, and is just clearly used to it.
Yeah.
At any point.
Yeah.
I wish that was more of a dynamic than the wife that doesn't know what's happening, or the wife that has misgivings about them being an evil villain. Like, just the supportive wife that the problem is that they take their supervillainy too seriously and aren't spending enough time at home is the problem.
Yeah.
Which is fucking great. We are talking about Hulu's M.O.D.O.K, new animated series that just dropped this past weekend. And we're going to be digging into the animation, the way that this character is portrayed in the show versus how it's portrayed in the comic books. We're going to be talking about just all the great voice acting, all the voice actors that are involved, the stupidity of this wonderful stupidity of this show on episode 213 of Geeks Under the Influence, Marvel's M.O.D.O.K. Welcome.
Things at work, and shall be again. A changing of the guards, and lines marching in. You think you can hold out, but you know you're wrong, so you better join us now. You better do it fast, or you will be dead. Lie down, number gun, this is compromise for dead.
I
don't know if that's the word I'd use for it.
Yeah, no, not so much. But I would say that, like, I did miss that there was some evil laughing happening with M.O.D.O.K's character, but it wasn't that like iconic level of evil laugh. It was more
Subdued.
I want to say. But I really liked that Patton A was one of the main writers on the show. And it clearly shows in the sense of humor that's coming across here. And also, he's a diehard comic book fan, so
I mean,
who better?
Yeah. He actually wrote a short M.O.D.O.K series last year called Mind Games, which actually is where they came up with the whole idea for his family, was from that short-run comic that Patton wrote. So,
oh, that's amazing.
Like, I've got it saved now, and I've got to go reread it, but it's a brilliant run, and Patton Oswalt is a deep nerd. He absolutely appreciates the source material he's working with here.
I remember watching the Comedians of Comedy documentary where it was him, Brian Posehn, Mia Bamford, and Zach Galifianakis on tour together. And
it's a hell of a lineup.
Yeah. And it's a Wednesday, which is new comic book day.
Mm-hmm.
And him and Brian Posehn go into whatever comic book store is like the good comic book store in whatever town they're in. And they're like, he, with their bags of comics in the backseat of the car, just like ripping them open and just like sharing what runs of comics they're reading right now. And just like greedy little children, so excited about their new comic books. And these are adult men that have careers as comics that are still just like turn into children with the excitement of comic books. And you can see that love translates into the series for sure.
Yep.
And the main conversation that's happening in this is about family, whether it be chosen or oftentimes in this series about being, your blood family and
right.
being present. And what I have here today is some of my own family, chosen family, for this episode that we're going to go around the table and see who's here. First off is the Dungeon Master himself, my friend and dude that throws 6-sided dice at me, or did when we were campaigning regularly.
You earned it every single time.
Every single time. The number of that's the name of my this cover band jokes that happened during D&D was pretty significant.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Jack here.
Thank you.
No one, including me, was like mad at you for throwing dice at me.
No, and in fact, everyone was waiting for the moment when you crossed the line and I hucked one at you.
Yep.
I've got a beautiful red clear die that's got a chip in it from your head.
I have no doubt.
Violent Master.
I earned it. I did earn it 100%.
I don't do that with literally anyone else. He is the only one who's ever gotten that level of aggression out of me at a gaming table.
Well, also, it was a big group, so getting things moving forward was already a challenge. And then me grinding it to a fucking halt with the endless riffing that I was doing was, I get it. I get it. So Steven's looking at me like, I will never play D&D with you ever.
You got to wonder why I
keep
keep trying to make it happen.
To do it with him.
I'm like, it's different.
It's different.
I'm on the fence as to how awesome or terrible this could possibly be. I'll play, but only if I can get my own dice to throw.
Fair, yeah.
In full support.
The problem is that Reiser would get like the metal die.
Oh,
the
yeah.
ones that would like do some actual damage. Like a little like acrylic die is gonna, it might sting a little bit. It's not gonna do permanent damage, but just the like heavy duty metal die.
Yeah, the really
I feel like
fancy
that
ones.
would still do heavy
I think the
damage.
worst I did to you was spill your beer.
I think you did spill my beer. At
Yeah,
one point.
I think that's the worst I did to you.
Yeah. But Reiser is our next guest on here, regular panelist on a number of the shows of the network. So thank you for coming on. I'm excited to have you in the studio for the first time in a while.
Yeah, it's been entirely too long on account of, world virus. But I'm very happy to be here and talk about how much heart this show ultimately has at the end of it.
It does have a weird amount of heart to it for a show about an evil villain.
It was out of place at first. I'm like, all right, I like it, but I'm like,
No, it took a while for me to actually get into it.
It did.
honestly.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
And the one poo-pooing the heart of the show.
I'm not the only one that poo-pooed the heart of the show.
Yeah.
You're looking for heart in a show that is literally a
The person that
severe ADD.
that hates family and
Wait, hold on. Hate family. Outside of your pet family, I'm not the only one that has like
the
a family.
the bizarro Vin Diesel, where it's none of it's about family.
Yeah.
We've got my co-host on. That's so not true. My co-host on this show and helps me run the network here. My partner in crime on GUI.
Barely.
We've got Lowdown Brown MacGyver.
What's going on, everyone?
Howdy, partner.
Not poo-pooing family.
Are you all about to have a M.O.D.O.K and Natalie moment?
Yes, definitely.
No.
I need to come up with acronyms for everybody, like they do in the show.
Where Lou and freaking Melissa.
It'd be more like M.O.D.O.K and now M.O.D.O.K out of a timeline M.O.D.O.K.
Oh, Anomaly.
Anomaly, yeah.
Okay.
I'd be Anomaly. I'm like, I can.
Oh, God, yes, I can see this.
Yep.
But it's weird. I would be that, and I would be the M.O.D.O.K at the end, too.
King M.O.D.O.K?
Weird. Yeah. Emperor
M.O.D.O.K.
Yeah,
M.O.D.O.K.
Emperor M.O.D.O.K.
Sorry. Yeah. Well, the founder of this shite show, Michael Bickett, would, I don't know, you'd have to bounce between the two.
Bow to your God King.
No.
Myke the Hobbit Bickett.
I would not be Gary wanting to sniff your ass either. That was horrible.
God, no.
That
Well,
was
no. Oh,
That was a bit
horrific,
that
man.
was like smell your. Well, I forget how he worded it, but it was so disgusting.
Like, after he gets up from his Iron Man throne.
yeah, literally called the Iron Throne, which
Yeah.
and
was
it's just
solid.
Iron Man melted. So fucked up.
Yeah, the real victim is Gary's husband in the whole thing. The guy can
Yes,
cook a mean bison burger,
absolutely.
and Gary doesn't even want to spend the weekend with him.
It's terrible.
Gary's a terrible husband.
Really got to suck that you have somebody that you are devoted to and love that is spending so much time like literally sniffing the butt of their boss, that you just feel like they're not present in the relationship.
How did anything to do with M.O.D.O.K's ass even work? Because he had a metal container around him. Like, it showed him with diarrhea and he's shitting on the toilet in the suit. That just doesn't work.
I mean, he had the butt cheeks pasted onto him in that one episode.
But you've seen him out of the suit. He has a full body, so you
Yeah.
feel like if he's got diarrhea, he's out of the suit. No, apparently he was shitting on the toilet.
Iron Man can piss in his suit in Iron Man 2, and you can drink it afterwards. So,
but if that's the case, why would M.O.D.O.K actually go to the toilet to have diarrhea?
I feel like M.O.D.O.K has
That
like
is
a
a
hose,
question.
like an RV that just comes out and like pops into the
he
toilet.
overloads
So he's got
the
like a
tank.
hose up his ass.
Like,
Yeah,
like
at
a
all
hose
times.
that, yeah, just
like an
comes
astronaut.
out. Yeah.
Stop. He's just got a hose up his ass at all times.
He overloads the tank, and then he has to go to the bathroom, and he's like filling the tank as he's emptying the tank.
I gotcha. But for a man who apparently has that much diarrhea, he should just like not eat. You think he'd be scientific enough to find like just an IV that could sustain him for his whole life?
I mean, the
'Cause
guy.
everything makes him shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's
terrible.
He's definitely got that like idiot savant kind of thing going on.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, to be fair, he's eating expired lasagnas and things. It's
he went and got a fresh one, and then literally was eating it on the toilet.
Yep.
And apparently, in one timeline, he dies doing that.
Yeah, yeah. He just knows what's gonna happen, so he just goes to the toilet and starts eating his dinner. That's so
Well,
disgusting.
that's one of the things that we learned from M.O.D.O.K that I feel like the way that they did this series gives us some more insight that we never got from the comic books, never got from any animated series that he's been involved in, whether it be the Avengers cartoons or what have you, is that M.O.D.O.K is either Jewish or at least by marriage Jewish. There was no
His wife
clear
is
line on
his wife
okay.
is of Jewish descent and some kind of Mexican descent. I think is the word
Yeah.
she used. But
Mm.
I think that well, at least in cash root law, Jewishness comes from the mother's side of the family in marriage.
Okay.
So,
It does, yeah.
So if their kids are going through a bat mitzvah and a bar mitzvah, then that would mean the mother is Jewish.
Okay.
So she's mixed Jewish Mexican heritage.
Well, that's one thing that we definitely learned is that M.O.D.O.K has a family
Right.
and has one kid that is the weird kid.
Yeah, I'm gonna need you to define which one is the weird one.
Okay, well, there's different types of weird. There's the
Yeah.
like definitely chip off the old block in a hover chair, ready to dominate people, but in that Zoomer style of just utterly decimating people with social media kind of comments and
Right.
and
What is
snips.
a Zoomer?
That's after millennials. is
You know,
the Zoomers.
Generation Z.
Yeah.
The kids today.
Oh, I always said Gen Z. I didn't know it was Zoomer.
Yeah, Zoomers
Yeah.
is one of the terms.
TikTokers, you name it.
Yeah. So we've got Melissa that is following in her dad's footsteps, but clearly better at it.
Oh yeah.
Like
Much better.
way better at it. And then Lou, or later the Lou's,
Yeah,
Both of them.
which
Yeah.
was a fucking perfect choice for them to be like, no, actually, I kind of like that they keep each other company and we have to
They
deal with
need
them
it.
less.
They need it.
Yeah.
It's like my best friend is my robot duplicate.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
But also that M.O.D.O.K has at least, well, he says undiagnosed Crohn's at one point.
Yeah.
He mentioned.
Oh yeah, he does.
Yeah.
But see, I got to a point in that show where I just took all that with a grain of salt. I don't really believe that he has undiagnosed Crohn's.
Either that or IBS, but there's something happening. If he's having that much diarrhea.
I mean, yeah. Well, I'm just saying, like,
I mean, he is
anything
a
that-
mutated organism. I mean, he could have.
Well, mutated or mechanized or mental, like it depends on which version of M.O.D.O.K you're talking about.
Well, it's brilliant character insight and development. He's a smart guy, but all of his problems are self-created, and he wants to blame external sources for all of them. And you see that pattern over and over. The diarrhea is the central metaphor for that character.
Wow.
Like, he knows if
Ouch.
he eats the lasagna, what's going to happen, and he's going to do it anyway, and he's going to blame the restaurant.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very, very true.
Yeah.
Wow, way to find insight in the diarrhea of this show. Yeah.
I mean, that's a constant theme through the entire season is him shitting himself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like it's in every episode. At least once.
Every single one.
Every single one.
Also, M.O.D.O.K and his wife are both really big fans of Third Eye Blind. So that was a good
Which
thing
I can totally relate to, because that is definitely one of the connection points between me and my partner is his absolute love for Third Eye Blind, and I didn't get it until I went to a concert with him. So, you know, that was a sweet moment for me.
Was it going because it was with him, or was
Oh,
it
yeah.
going
No,
because
absolutely.
you went and then you enjoyed the band?
I kind of enjoyed the band, but I didn't go hunting out for him. Like when
I
I
gotcha.
actually went to the concert with him and saw his face while they
That's
were
what I'm
on,
saying. It was because
performing.
like of going with him.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm now forever in love with that band because of what I see it like reflect in my
Aw.
partner.
I know.
That's awesome.
That makes sense. I'm saying being someone that grew up with that band, I fucking hate Third Eye Blind. I fucking hate that band. Dude. That one song.
Yeah.
Well, and actually, it's not even that song. It's and it's not fucking Jumper either. Fucking whatever. It's
Blue Motorcycle.
No, what's that other slow one? How's it gonna be?
Okay.
So
That's like the only song I actually will like every time listen to from that band.
So if we were on, say, a road trip to a convention or something, and I popped in a Third Eye Blind CD, would you be like, I want something else to get me through this semi-charmed car ride?
Actually,
baby?
depending on whose vehicle we took, you wouldn't be able to pop in a CD.
Because you don't have the capabilities, or because you would, I don't know, like break
I
it?
don't have a CD player.
Ah, gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
One of these days, we're going to get you a car with a CD player, Lowdown. I know that's on the list.
I've been there, done that. I'm actually ahead.
Yep.
Oh, we're here in 2021. You're there
Yeah.
in 3021.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm ahead with the
yeah,
no CD.
yeah.
It's like a $400 to get one now. It's like it's something you have to pay to add.
Yeah.
But people will pay you to haul away one of those old battery-powered boom boxes so we can get one of those for the car, and
we
he
go.
won't even be able to control it from the back seat.
There you go.
I think that's perfect. I sit
Oh,
furthest
man.
away from Lowdown possible with a little mini boombox playing on repeat.
What do you mean mini? No, we're getting you one of those big 80s style ones.
The bass boost, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the beauty of that is, I know he's not going to pack enough batteries, even if he thinks he will, because they're going to go through batteries in like 4 songs.
True enough.
Yeah,
It
we'll
takes,
get
like,
halfway
the
through
8
losing a whole
fucking
year.
D batteries it takes will be drained
So
instantaneously.
would it mean that I would have a semi-charged kind of life?
Oh my God!
Is that
We
maybe-
really need to get you
maybe?
off this subject.
Stop! Stop!
We need to get you away from this
Oh my God!
immediately.
No, they're not. They weren't bad. I'm gonna
Yeah,
give you
yeah,
that.
yeah,
They weren't
yeah,
bad.
yeah.
I'm not gonna. Normally I tell you to shut the fuck up. They weren't bad. They were good.
Okay,
Just
all right.
stop.
Yeah, no, fair enough. So I do want to dig a little bit into the beginnings of his career with AIM in this show. Specifically, is that it ends up getting taken over by, which I thought it was the exact same name they used in Parks and Recs, but that was actually Grizzle. But it's Grumble, which
Grumble.
is clearly a Google knockoff name with
No.
definitely someone I would drown in a bathtub without hesitation taking over for AIM.
It actually looks like, because I know somebody who used to work for them. It kind of looks like the Google platform for their employees.
Yeah.
I could. Everyone's like, oh, we're for
Yeah.
Google. Fuck that.
Mm-hmm.
No. Like, I mean, they worked for Google. I think now they're with Facebook.
Okay.
But they worked for Google, and it's just, it's like, they're not getting, like, they can ride bikes and all this shit on the complex, and there's all this, like, space for you to whatever the fuck,
Creatively.
and, like, it's...
No, see, I'm into the whole like ping pong table in the break room kind of vibe, segues and shit. I'm down for that. What I did not like entirely, that would have driven me fucking insane, and I would have thrown my laptop or computer out a window, was the like 1 minute at the end of every hour where it just stops you working, so you can like fucking get up and stretch. I know working on a computer at work that if I'm in a rhythm and I'm going, if the computer just stops and is like, nope, you got to stretch, you got to go get water or something, fuck you, you're getting sent out the window. Like, fuck off. Don't fuck up my
a lot
rhythm.
of those like creature comfort things in the break room and the corporate culture that's all about like relaxing your chi or whatnot is all about like, well, we're gonna work you to death, but like we're gonna make you feel like you're at like some kind of spa while you're doing
so they're lying to you.
Yeah.
Basically, they're just lying to you.
Exactly like the company in this show does.
Yeah, exactly. But and there's so many companies like that.
Yeah.
Think, yeah,
it's a classic old school law firm thing. They'll pay you or they'll give you a free dinner if you work past 10 p.m. And you're like, oh, great, I get a free dinner. Oh, my God, I've been working from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. straight.
Yeah. It's like I used to work for a local ad company. Well, not work for. I took care of maintenance stuff for a local ad company just out of Richmond. And they're the same way. You go in there, man, their little break areas were fucking rad, dude. They'd have these killer parties where, like, I remember they were loading up, dude. They loaded in like 12 kegs and just fucking giant coolers filled with just Twisted Teas and, you know, Four Locos and all this shit. And that dude was like, yeah, and that's before we actually go out to the bottom because they're in the bottom. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, holy shit. And we pay for all that when we go out to the bottom. I'm like, cool. But they work the fuck out of you because it's advertising and advertising doesn't have any hours. So it's kind of like, you know, that's what I feel like that they turned AIM into. And that's, I understand. Like, I was with M.O.D.O.K the whole time on that. I'm like, fuck you.
M.O.D.O.K is old school where, like, in the comics at the very least, the reason he became M.O.D.O.K is because he was an AIM employee that got surgery done to him to increase his brain capacity, which is why his head got so big. So he's a dude that's just like, yeah, fucking company man, make my head all fucking huge. Give me a fucking hovey chair. I'm cool.
Wait, he had a big head when he was a kid.
In the show. But in the comics.
In the comics, he was a normal person at one point.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. I think they wanted you to feel for him that he was like picked on, and then it gave it a source for him being a megalomaniac.
Right.
That he was.
I mean,
why can't he just be a megalomaniac?
I mean, he talks about it throughout the show that he experimented on himself to get the way that he is now.
Yeah.
But like, he's definitely carrying some like childhood trauma, no matter what version of him you look at.
They called me Big Head.
Yeah. I think
which I can relate to.
Yeah.
As a kid, definitely.
I think at any point, like whatever version of this character is, he's got carrying some deep-seated trauma from childhood.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot reflective in like his depression cycle throughout the show. Is like he's very much an up and down, like manic depressive.
Well, and I think that is something that was kind of interesting to see how they were making you both think of him as an abysmal character that was terrible, treated his family like shit, just a bad person. But at the end of the day, you still were kind of rooting for him to be a better person.
True.
And I think that's why they changed his backstory a bit, is that you wanted to have some reason to understand why he is that way. If he's just always been a dick, and we've all known that person, that like no tragic backstory, their family life is fine, they grew up like middle class,
just
like
dick.
Not so rich that it was a problem or so poor it was a problem, that nice in between, where just nice parents still together, like everything's fine, and they're just a piece of shit. And you don't want to root for that person.
No.
Right.
So M.O.D.O.K having this tragic...
That was Austin.
That was Austin. Yes, 100%.
But also, I mean, I don't feel like I was really necessarily rooting for M.O.D.O.K either.
No, it was I was rooting for his family to, like, for him to be better to his family. I think is more.
I don't want him to have it all.
Yeah, like the closest I got to him to like kind of being sympathetic towards him was the episode where he's listening to his wife's book and he's reading through her stuff and he's actually cleaning up his life, and it's not necessarily to get her back, but like because he needs to change himself, and he's ultimately willing to give her up, and then the robots happened.
Yeah.
It kind of just made him open his eyes to how he had been living, right?
Mm-hmm.
That the rat getting slammed on the counter wasn't a big indicator that you need to clean your fucking apartment. And they made, man, there was the sounds too. I'm like, oh, that's just so gross.
Just so much.
So that's too much, man.
The sound mixing was really good.
Yeah.
At the same time. Oh god.
Slap, slap, slap. I'm like, come on, man. It's rats, dude. Chill out.
Well, he's an F-tier villain, and he's going up against one of the best heroes of the Marvel Universe when we first meet him. So from there, you can't really root for his like career goals of taking over the world to succeed. So what instead you root for is for him to eventually get it. When you're watching him work with the reject supervillains, you're hoping he'll realize, like, you can be a friend to these people. Those kind of life lessons that he somehow missed on the way. And we want life to kick him in the nuts and remind him of what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. And there were some amazing moments with his ragtag group of, like, grade Z villains that he...
Yeah, that was probably one of my favorite episodes.
That was by far the best.
Yeah.
One of the best scenes, because it was that first episode with them, and they had that crazy night, like, was when they go to, was it Tunneler's house, and the new dude's dick is just swinging out. I was like, what the shit? And he closed the door.
It's a Komodo. This is how you're supposed to wear
He was like, he built that door so he would do that. I'm like, oh, get the fuck out of
she's
here.
definitely got an animal kink.
yeah, she's definitely got.
Also, I love the addition of like the family like butler, basically. That's this like shape-shifting.
Oh, he was so fucking annoying.
Automaton.
He was so annoying.
I was ready for him to die.
He was desperate for approval. Like that was his whole.
He's a fucking
character.
robot. I'm sorry.
But it was like, yes, Mr. M.O.D.O.K, just fucking on board for anything, like waiting by the phone for M.O.D.O.K, just waiting to get approval. And so that turn where he ended up like turning on the family and him being like, I've learned a valuable life lesson, which right at that point, the family should have been like, okay, cool. Maybe we won't have to go through this again because he's like learned his lesson. They're like, nope, reset. And like, so it's just going to keep happening over and over again.
Because they said it right there. It's like, you betray us like every week.
Yeah. Like every week.
Yeah.
It's like, we didn't give you toast. We're ready to kill. He's ready to kill us now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I'm with you on it being totally annoying. But it's established as being an annoying character.
Oh, no, I get that.
He can't even make a glass of juice.
Yeah. No, I get it. It's supposed to be annoying, but it was just like, there's some of the dialogue scenes in that were like just too much. Like, he could have done it and like cut some of those scenes in half and it would have been a lot more palatable. Like, we didn't need he's already annoying. Like, you don't need to add that it's like this much dialogue of being annoying. Like, there was not a scene where he wasn't annoying. We get it. Like, that's all.
The whole aesthetic of it is too much entirely over and over.
And I think that like
too many jokes, too much plotting, too much everything. But that was also like a hallmark of Robot Chicken.
But
Definitely.
Also, it still slowed down. So like the first episode, and I didn't know that the people involved with Robot Chicken were involved with this because I was like, this reminds me of a Robot Chicken episode. But with Robot Chicken, we get multiple different small stories versus we're actually trying to tell a single story.
Yep.
It does not work with how crazy the first episode was. And I was like, if the next couple episodes were like this, I wasn't going to finish it.
Yeah.
Because it annoyed me. But then episode 2, it starts telling a specific story in his life. Like, I think episode 2 was him trying to get his wife back in the family, and then episode 3 was, and then I'm like, okay, now we're getting, like you said, like too many jokes, but it was slowed down. That first episode was fucking horrid.
I don't necessarily agree that it was horrid, but I do agree that it was harder. It was harder for me to appreciate the characters in the first episode, but not saying that these are at same level, but I kind of reminded me of when I watched Schitt's Creek, whereas when I watched the first few episodes, all the characters were like irredeemable. They were pieces of shit. Like, you didn't really want to root for them, but the character arc that went over several seasons, you got to a point where there's like clearly an episode that was like the subtle turn for each character had their own episode where you're like, okay, now I'm like on that team. I want them to succeed. I want them to be better. And there was a shorter framed arc for M.O.D.O.K from being this like piece of shit, treated his family like shit, his employees like shit. He was an asshole, like not redeemable at all. You're not rooting for this dude. And then a couple episodes in, you're starting to get some semblance of like that there's a reason why he is this way. You're hoping, if not for him, for the sake of his family, that he's going to get it together. I feel like that was the big turn for me at the end where he kind of allowed for his family to get fucking destroyed.
But it's like that because it also slowed down. That's where I was going at with that.
Yeah.
It slowed down. None of the like there's maybe one episode that was just as busy as the first episode. The rest of them slowed down and focused on one particular thing for the most part.
I started trying to binge it like as soon as it dropped on Friday. And
I had to binge it. There's no way I could fit it in.
Yeah. I watched 2 episodes and I had to stop because I was annoyed with the whole process. It was just the bumbling dad and the hyper-competent mom, and they've got a shit marriage and their kids are a mess. And I've seen this sitcom 1,000 times before.
Sure.
And it's not that entertaining. It wasn't until the time travel episode that it just started to actually become an actual story where it's like, we're actually going to try and solve some of these problems instead of it being the gimmick of the entire show.
And I agree. Like I said, the fact that it slowed down on episode 2 and 3, 'cause I think the time travel one was like episode 4 or 5. One of those.
I think it was. I think it was 3 or 4.
Okay. So, and I'm like, okay, well, we're focusing on something in a single thing, and I'm like, okay. And then you're right. I think it was that episode because the shot of them literally just getting old, stuck in that timeline,
Yes.
watching themselves get up to the certain point, but then he like runs out of the bush like a fucking like he came out of the fucking
squirrel eaters or
Aborigine,
something they
like
call
he's out
them.
of the
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
jungle, and he like said no, and like no wait, we gotta tell him, don't go,
Right. And then they
we're meant to be together. So the whole point of that still got was like, come on, could you just like at least did that? Couldn't you just
Something.
added that little thing like they're meant to be together?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's why it kind of like hooked me by the end of the first episode is that, it's showing just how much of a piece of shit this dude is. And like he treats his family like shit. They hate him. He kind of hates them. Like there's nothing redeemable of the situation. But then the chickens come home to roost at the end of the first episode where his wife's like, I can't do this anymore. I want a divorce. And then all that, as Jack was saying, that stereotypical, like that format of the bumbling husband that does all this terrible shit and ruins the family, but the family just lets it continue to happen. That was what it was representing. But then the show decides like, no, let's turn it on its head. And like, they're fed up with it. Like they're not dealing with this shit anymore.
And I think, I don't want to turn this into a Smack My Pitch Up episode, but I think it would have worked a lot different and a lot better if they inverted the sitcom situation where he's not great at his job, which obviously he's not. He's an F-tier villain, but he's a fantastic family man, and nobody expects that. I think that would have been a completely different and a much better show.
See, all we get in the first episode is we don't just get about the family. We get he loses his company. Like everything happens in 25 minutes.
Yep.
Like we're introduced to him taking over the world, and we're introduced to him going home, and we're introduced to his family life, and I was a shit parent. And then we go back to work, and then Grumble shows up, and they buy out AIM. It's like all that happened in the first episode.
That's tricky though, because you are putting M.O.D.O.K as more like the heavy emphasis on the anti-hero. That if he's a redeemable character from the get-go, where he's a good father and a good husband, and he's like likable in that way, he's not really a villain anymore. He's a guy that's got kind of like caught up in his job that ends up making him do like abysmal things, but you're still rooting for him. I think the intention of this character is that he's just gonna be a piece of shit. Like there's never a point where M.O.D.O.K's gonna be a good guy. In this first season, when he fights the main villain and he tries to like stop shit, it's not because he's trying to save the world. It's not because he has some like idea of like, no, I know better now, and in my heart now it's about like protecting those that can't protect themselves, and he fucking like long diatribe hero bullshit. It's literally for his own gain. Like he's not doing it to be a hero. So to make him have some like positive aspect about himself is honestly being a little bit unfaithful to the character.
I mean, this is from somebody who's actually read way too much about M.O.D.O.K, but like that final turn in the end episode where Emperor M.O.D.O.K is like, I will have it all, I will save my family and still have my utopia. In that moment, because of the character we've seen throughout the entire season, it's not about him wanting to save his family, it's him wanting to possess them. And like he's not redeemed, he's not better, he's not doing it for any kind of good reason. And it's like it was a struggle to root for a character who doesn't get better, and like ultimately he was getting better, and the one who ruined it was his younger self. It was Anomaly.
Yeah, it was Anomaly. I agree.
But do you actually have to root for him for full buy-in? Because I was very amused by the opening segment where he fights Iron Man ineptly, destroys almost all of his company property, and then the only victory that he gets out of it is that some of the goons will touch him afterward because he's carrying Iron Man's boot, and he spurns his family to go sleep with the boot.
Well, he lied
that
about
was funny as shit too.
He didn't kill Iron Man. He didn't even do it.
Yeah.
He got a boot stuck in his face in that fight.
Yeah.
In his ass.
Yeah.
In his ass.
And because that was, again, the diarrhea reference. Huh?
Melissa's
the one who did it. Like, a fucking piece of shit, man.
But also, there is a weird dynamic between M.O.D.O.K and Iron Man, because at one point he even talks about that he would rather his kid be more like Iron Man than him.
Oh, when they were having the war on the other in Asgard.
In Asgard, yeah. And then he's like, I don't want you to be like me because I'm a piece of shit. Like, he knows he's a piece of shit, and not in that like sad, depressive person where like you're actually not a piece of shit, but but you think you are because you have
He's
depression.
like, no, I'm a piece of shit.
No, he's like, I'm a piece of shit, and people are like, oh, thank God, at least you know.
Yeah, at least you're aware.
You are definitely a piece
Well,
of
he
shit.
was like, I didn't want them laughing at you like they laughed at me. Like he was projecting all potentially his problems onto his shit he still not dealt with onto his kid.
He wants to prevent that from happening to his son, and so he's willing to even have his son be more like his nemesis if it means that his son's going to have a better life.
But it also still shows he's trying to control how his son turns out.
Sure.
Yeah, they do have a really interesting relationship with him and Iron Man. I thought the saddest moment of the entire show was when he hitchhikes to Avengers Tower and is standing out front yelling at them while they're trying to have a party upstairs. Iron Man comes down and just says, "You're a clown," and it clearly crushes him.
Oh, you're a literal clown.
You're a literal clown.
I mean, for that point, like John Hamm was the perfect casting to play Dick Iron Man.
Oh yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
John.
Speaking of casting, like the voice talent that they've had in this show.
Oh, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And
Anything where you get Alan Tudyk and freaking Nathan Fillion in together.
which
it's a winner.
I want to give a little like Easter egg about Wonder Man being played by Nathan Fillion, which also like that whole fucking arc of Wonder Man dating his wife while they're separated was just so much fun. But
that is Captain Hammer.
Nathan Fillion was actually in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. There's a scene where you can't really see the poster in the finished product, but James Gunn had a poster of Wonder Man Film Festival, and Nathan Fillion was Wonder Man in that poster.
Oh, God.
So,
I did not know that.
Yeah, so this is actually a callback to James Gunn intending on Wonder Man to come up and Nathan Fillion playing the role. And then also, there's totally a dig into Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog where Wonder Man just hates the homeless.
Yeah.
Just fucking hates the homeless, like straight up Captain Hammer style.
And that's what I thought when I started hearing the character, him and Alan Tudyk, was that it felt like their old voice work. Like Wonder Man felt like Captain Hammer. The arcade felt like the Joker from the Harley Quinn series.
Yeah.
It's like it felt a little too repetitive.
I got you.
Well, I mean, in fairness, those two don't have as much acting work as some other.
I don't know. Tudyk has a
Tudyk
lot of
does.
voice acting.
So does Nathan Fillion. He was one of the original Green Lantern voices
That's
on
right.
the Justice
Yeah,
League.
that is
that's
true.
right. So what has he
Yeah.
done? I know a lot of his cameos have been in person stuff too.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
with Fillion anyway.
Like, yeah, Fillion's got a
Feeling
diverse
in between
range.
seasons of The Rookie, he jumps in and does some voice
Before
work.
that, we had Castle.
Actually, I really liked Castle.
Don't hate on
Castle was
fucking
good.
Castle.
No, I like Castle, and all the fucking Firefly references
dude,
were
it was ridiculous.
brilliant.
No, he is very competent. I'm just saying this particular role
choice,
felt a little too repetitive from his previous work. That's
Arcade, yeah, I can see what you're saying.
all. With the laughing and with the gags.
Yeah, it
and
was
with
definitely
the,
Joker adjacent.
It was Joker adjacent,
Yeah.
but childish. It was almost like if you were doing like,
I mean,
keeping it DC. If he instead of Mark Hamill were doing the Trickster,
right.
Yeah,
it's almost like that level.
I mean, to be fair, Arcade is really not that far off from either of those characters.
That's true.
So
That's
it
true.
is an easy choice to just kind of repeat what you've already done.
Yeah.
Mm.
and also
But
it was just a side character that wasn't like
Yeah, he was only in one.
he was
episode.
one episode. Yeah,
Yeah, it was a throwaway gag.
yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
So
Yeah.
but I do appreciate that they pulled in fucking Arcade and Murder World into this.
so weird.
It's just not the same Murder World that I remember from the comics necessarily, but
A little different.
a little different, a little more
different.
carnival.
One of my favorite things from that episode was when the one robot Lou was just through the axe,
Just
around his head, and he's like, "I'm a real boy." That shit was funny. That was good.
I'm really looking forward to the arc where Melissa, and it might even be season 2, because she's already so much like showing signs of being far better as a villain than her dad, that I'm waiting for her to like surpass him.
She straight up said it in the interrogation episode. I'm a sociopath. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Needing my approval.
Yeah, and she schooled the evil corporation's board and played everybody brilliantly against each other
Yep.
when he was failing to do that.
Yep.
Yeah, but it depends on how far they come back. Like how long it takes for him to figure out how to get, because he doesn't have any way to time travel now. He used all the juice. So
I mean, I think this is an interesting because there's a lot of Marvel villains who go through this process of my past self comes to my future self who's finally won everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a reversal of it because the future self finally wins, because in every other time Marvel has done this, the younger self kills his future self because he's gone soft for having won.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think King Thanos a couple years ago in the Thanos Wins series Same kind of conflict where the younger self meets the older self, and the younger self's like, you fucking weakling, I'm gonna kill you now because of it. Like, I can't stand you.
Yeah.
I think the other time that this happened was with Kang the Immortal and with Doctor Doom. And Doctor Doom, ultimately, it wasn't so much that he met his younger self and his younger self was disgusted with him. It was like God Doom said, it's like, it's too boring. There's no challenge anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm going to reset myself to be not God anymore, even though I'm still technically God. And that, I think, is the ultimate victory, is to be God without knowing you're God.
Speaking of God, we're going to cut to our other shows of the network and then our sponsors that for us...
Is our own Hexus?
Yeah, is our own Hexus, really.
The Living Corporation.
The Living Corporation. I mean...
The Living Corporation.
One of our sponsors is Amazon, so I mean, it's really not that far off. Yeah.
I mean, Walmart would be...
Close.
Yeah.
I do like that they even made a Walmart joke where the cha-ching was like, Walmart just paid me for saying that. Was great.
So
But,
obvious.
I'm trying to think, what company would be equal to, comparable to Hexus?
I mean, Google is not far off. The multi-headed monster.
Tesla.
Tesla.
Is Tesla, Rocket X, and the Boring Company. They are literally destroying the communities that they're built in. Literally.
There's a little bit of that with Amazon with the mega warehouses as well.
True.
That happened. So I think it's definitely a pull from a number of different corporations that have that same effect of like, yeah, we care about our community and we do all this stuff, and then it's just like fucking decimation in their wake.
Yep.
It's the nature of the
Mega corporation
that we're dealing with. Yeah, that is a perfect downer to end the first half of our episode. So stick around for our sponsors after we talk about some of the other shows on the network. We'll be right back.
Coming straight from the mouths of madness, I'm Lowdown.
I'm FU Hunter.
Do you love horror?
We fucking do.
So this is a podcast dedicated to all things in cinematic horror. We're talking movies, television, composers, special effects artists. We're going to fucking cover it.
So if you love horror,
Embrace the madness.
My name is Amy Bogard,
And I'm Myke the Hobbit.
and we are the hosts of Deeply Upsetting, where we use our expertise to answer your most upsetting hypothetical quandaries, such as what non-winged animal deserves wings?
And what body part deserves a secret mouth?
Which cryptid is the worst roommate?
These questions and more that plague you will be answered on Deeply Upsetting, available anywhere you get your podcasts and at GUIPodcast.com.
In a world ravaged by movie studios that keep rehashing the same things, only one podcaster has the guts to make it even worse. Join Myke the Hobbit as he traverses the internet to bring you some of the best and worst ideas for reboots, remakes, and reimaginings of some of your favorite and least favorite TV and film properties. Ideas like a John Waters He-Man movie, Fantastic Four the musical, and Aliens, done entirely with marionettes. What podcast would bring this evil upon the world? This is Smack My Pitch Up. Available anywhere you get your podcasts.
We're back for the second half of Geeks Under the Influence, all things Marvel's M.O.D.O.K, available on HULU. Just dropped 10 episodes, available now. And before we get into all the ins and outs of the mechanized organism...
Mutated organism designed only for killing.
Yeah, or it's mechanized, mutated, or mental organism. Depending on which version of the character. But before we get into that, we're going to talk about our sponsors a little bit. So... Grumble being the main villain of the M.O.D.O.K series, we have a real-life version of that sponsors this show. Amazon.com for all the purchases that you make from your day-to-day through convenience. You order online. The best way to try to take down Hexus, a.k.a. Jeff Bezos,
the living
corporation, is to shop through our link at GUIPodcast.com. You click that link and anything you purchase, we get credit for. So it's taking a little bit of the money away from Hexus and giving it to the underdog podcast that's trying to take it down.
Fern Gully?
We are. I mean, I can't think of a more apt description of GUI as the podcast version of Fern Gully. Yes, I think
we're the newly reformed trademark infringing AIM that is in an old storefront with an unlimited supply of bison burgers.
That is way closer to the target margin there. Yeah.
Does that make me you M.O.D.O.K?
That makes you actually bringing the bison burgers, I think.
I'm definitely bringing the bison burgers. I'm just saying, does that make... Which one of you is Monica now?
We're going to have to suss that out after we finish recording. Yeah, Amazon.com. It's been our longest running sponsor. Definitely, we all use it. It's a necessary evil, much like grumble.
Yes.
And so definitely make sure you're at least giving us a little bit of credit when you're doing your shopping by going through the link at GUIPodcast.com. Now, a more direct way to help Geeks Under the Influence is TeePublic. TeePublic, the place for all the GUI merchandise available currently. We've got close to 40 designs on the website right now of all the different podcasts and special designs done by showrunners or friends of the show. All sorts of cool shit available on t-shirts, mugs, fucking laptop covers, giant banners. I mean, there are all sorts of options available. Stickers, buttons. So go to GUIPodcast.com/store to get a link to our TeePublic page, or just click on the store link on our homepage to send you to TeePublic for all the designs available. And rep GUI Network, shop at TeePublic. Now on to the stuff that really gets the show going.
Okay.
The first and foremost, of course, is the lubrication that helps us move forward on these episodes. We're talking about what we're drinking.
Hey, we're fucking drinking. We're getting drunk. You want to know? Well, here you go. Hey,
we're drinking. We're getting drunk.
Yay. No shares. Just different kinds of fun stuff that we're drinking, though, for sure. First off, let's go to Reiser with his fancy drink. I'd say the way that this compares is that it is definitely a crapshoot kind of drink.
Yeah, there's nothing fancy about this. I'm drinking Chang, the national brew of Thailand, which can give you anywhere from like 0.1 ABV to like almost 20%. So you never know until you stand up if you're going to get a Chang over or not.
Oh, nice. Wow.
A Chang over.
That's
beautiful.
Good. That's good. I like it.
Jack, what are you drinking this evening?
I got Charm City Mead Works' Out of Left Field, which is a draft mead with an orange peel flavor to it. It's a 5.5. I think they're out of Baltimore.
Charm City, Baltimore.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I was going to ask you. Charm City is Baltimore.
Yeah, this is a lot better than I thought it was going to be because, I hear draft mead and I think it's going to be like sort of like watered down, but no, it's a decent.
That's good. The flavor's still there, but that is low ABV for mead, though.
Oh no, it's definitely a sitting on the
sessionable.
It's
a sessionable mead.
Yeah.
Two shows in a row that we've had mead on, actually.
Really? Yeah. No.
Yeah. Tony brought.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely for a mead, this is low ABV even for a mead. But like I wanted something light and something summer flavor, so.
Yeah, I like that we apparently got the same memo about wearing Hawaiian shirts, so I do appreciate that. Yeah. It was that kind of day. Sure.
I tried a blood orange cider on Friday, and it just absolutely fell flat for me. So otherwise, I would have brought more of that.
I've had one too. I don't know what companies are doing the blood orange, but I've had a blood orange where I'm like,
Yeah, it didn't work for me.
Fair enough.
But this is working. This is working pretty good.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Lowdown, what are you drinking on?
Oh, I'm basic bitching. I found a truly, but it's the Punch series.
Nice.
So, I saw a Legend. It was an East Coast local from Richmond. They had a pomegranate Berliner Weiss. I was like, ooh.
See, I saw that one at the store too.
I was thinking about getting that.
I was like almost on that one.
But then I was like, well, I got to work tomorrow, and these don't really hit hard, even though they are 5%. It's just all the sugar's gone, so you have like no hangover.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'll go with these.
Fair enough.
Yep.
And I'm doing something that's nice for a warm day as well. This is a drink that there's different names for it, but there's one that's actually M.O.D.O.K's Mind Blast. And it is vodka, and it's a vodka cranberry basically with a little bit of lime. So you get a nice tart flavor, and you just get a round ice cube on the top to kind of reflect the mind gem at the
I think really if we're going to talk about like M.O.D.O.K as a drink, I don't think vodka cranberry nearly comes close. I think if we're going to describe M.O.D.O.K as a drink, if we're going with the show's version of it, I think we're talking about a Four Lok with a fucking Bacardi 151 after.
How about a Four Lok poured into a glass with a shot of Bacardi 151 dropped in, and you take that as a fucking shooter?
Yeah, that sounds like M.O.D.O.K.
See, the problem is we can't start doing this because listeners will start asking us to make the terrible drinks that we talk about.
We just told you how to make it. You make it, and send us an image or a video of you drinking it, and we'll see how that goes.
You tell us how that goes.
By the way, we are not responsible for anything done. Well,
also you can't get 151 anymore. That is a begotten time gone, and
I'm sure you can.
They stopped making 151 as far as I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everclear's still a thing, right?
Oh yeah,
in North Carolina, yes it is.
And I think Maryland as well.
Yep.
Yeah. So that is what we brought to be sipping on for this episode. Now we're getting into the part of the show that people either love or absolutely hate. We're talking about making a drunken scene.
Making a drunken scene.
Every time I hear that, it's like pinkies out. Pinkies
Absolutely.
out.
Mixed with the aliens from Sesame Street. Right. I don't know. That's what it is.
That's just to let the listeners know that we fancy.
He is fancy.
Absolutely. I actually had a lot of problems finding any quotes from M.O.D.O.K.
It just came out Friday.
It just came out Friday, so that's understandable.
The nerds are understandably a little behind the curve on this one.
Yeah, this one is, this took a little bit to find anything. There's one quote from the series that we're going to be doing, but most of these are lines from M.O.D.O.K. from the Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is where I found a lot of the quotes. So
that's fine.
So if anything, it's just going to give you a better idea of the character of M.O.D.O.K. in different versions. So this is from Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and it's from M.O.D.O.K.
If you think I've evolved beyond the joys of murder, you'd be wrong.
Well done. You even got like the little compression from the tinny audio file in there.
Jesus.
So we've got the next one up if one of you guys want to do that one.
They once called me M.O.D.O.K. with a C, but I'd much be rather killing than computing.
Nice. This is the important one. Don't fuck it up, Jack.
In time, you will learn that M.O.D.O.K. likes those big, old, juicy butts.
Yes. Well done.
Nice.
It's true.
Oh, I have to go lower. Fuck.
I mean, I'm sure you can better than I can.
I don't know.
Or really high pitched. Like you can either just go the other way.
I was thinking Metalocalypse.
Ooh.
Yeah, you gotta.
Different like candy.
Oh, wow.
Well, you said go higher, and I was like, Metalocalypse. Wait, there is someone who's higher on Metalocalypse.
Were you getting waterboarded? Like, what was happening there?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So,
Thank you for the inspiration on that. I was trying to go like,
Yeah.
Sound like Corpse Grinder. Yeah.
That's more Chris Barnes. Corpse Grinder doesn't get that low anymore. Chris Barnes still like.
Like that. I've heard that like the Corpse Grinder just when he talks normally, it sounds like that now because he has so many polyps on his fucking vocal cords.
He does interviews and stuff all the time on like on Liquid Metal, and it's just like he's hoarse as fuck.
I'd love to hear him like going into a grocery store.
Okay, I'm gonna get 10 on pump 8, and if
It doesn't sound like that.
if you can grab me a pack of Roll-Aids from around back, I would appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
He doesn't he's not that bad, but he's definitely like
in the
hoarse.
neighborhood.
You know, there's a cool thing he does though. He goes to all these different toy.
Do you guys carry Malamars?
You know the toy claw grabbers.
Right. Yeah. No, I've seen the
I've
stories
seen
on
that.
that.
Yeah,
He does, and he just wins. He spends a fuck ton of money and wins, and whenever he wins, he donates.
Now, I do love that, like, not only is AIM back to their classic comic book roots on their outfits that they're wearing, which are always, like, comedically weird. I love how stupid Beekeeper's outfit their looks are in that. But also, yeah, most of AIM is just like Hydra in the comic books where all the people are just, like,
drones.
Just drones. They can be murdered at any point.
Except for Gary, because he's doing, like, the one-arm pull-ups with his helmet on, though.
That,
like,
that fucking revenge sequence of him, like tatted up and like doing push-ups with one arm and getting ready to fucking pulling venom out of a snake to put into a dart to kill
Gary
dude.
goes hard, motherfucker.
Yeah, he went
awesome.
fucking hard.
That was pretty fucking sweet. I'll say that.
Best ally to have in your corner since Steve Buscemi and Billy Madison.
Glad I called that guy.
Yeah, no shit.
Well, in that case, he should have actually M.O.D.O.K. should have actually put Gary's arm back on, because that would have been like, glad I put his arm back on.
I feel like there's some opportunity in season 2 for that to happen.
I mean, he did give him the mecha hand later.
That is true.
I mean, he did something for him. But I do think it's hilarious that he only gave him the mecha hand because he lost his second hand, but still didn't replace his right arm.
It was my favorite arm.
Like if anybody knows how to replace like organic parts with non-organic parts, it's going to be fucking M.O.D.O.K.
The guy being a dick.
Yeah. I mean,
he's being a dick.
That that's kind of the whole character.
Yeah, that's like the whole thing that's happening there.
How about the fucking when he goes to see was it Belcher or Melter?
Melter.
And he
Melter's-
the wife and the son are back there crying, and he's like, "Here's the noisiest cemetery ever." I'm like, what the fuck, dude? You knew him for a day. Not even a night.
And the 10 people who are giving him the exact same message, including the sex scene.
Yeah, I was going to say, hit it a different way.
Come at it from a different angle.
Come at it from a different angle.
No, speaking of the sex scene, I do want to talk about when he was captured by robots, which, by the way, is also...
before he fucked a robot. He fucked a robot first.
Fuck the robot.
Fuck the robot. Captured by Robots, though, really good band. Should check it out. But also, when there's conversation about his fuck style that is in there, where apparently he just ate some expired salami between the fucking couch
and incredibly disappointing for his wife.
Well, that was talked about when she was dating Wonder Man.
The fact that she achieves orgasms with Wonder Man and that never did with her husband.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was clearly put out there into the world very clearly.
Yes. A lot of information I did not need.
It is nice to know from the bedroom scene that M.O.D.O.K is actually able to get out of his hover chair. Like, that is a choice that he makes. It's not something that he's like bound to. That he can just be like a Funko Pop figure without the fucking hover chair. Jesus. Like big square head just hanging out, laying in bed.
Speaking of weird sex moments, I think the one that I actually had the laugh out loud moment.
The number of times that I've heard you say "speaking of weird sex moments" in a conversation.
I mean, it's a great conversation starter.
Yeah, it's true.
It's how I greet most people. Speaking of weird sex moments, I think the thing that actually made me stop the entire show and I had to go walk out of the room laughing deeply was that moment where Austin's like running around inside AIM and he opens the door and the gigolo is giving birth to like this marching line of babies and he looks at it and he goes, "You know, that's a tomorrow problem." And closes the door. I think everyone's had a day at work where they just look at a problem and they know it's going to be a huge fucking deal, and they just look at it and go, "That's a tomorrow problem."
That's a thing to have future me worry about. Yep.
And what was it? The party scene when he goes to that resort with the Melissa, the daughter, and he invites the aliens and the party aliens.
Oh my god!
And the one where he like uses a laser, he's like, "Oh, is that me again? I'm so close." I'm like, "Oh god!" He's like, "No."
I love the like
it was so disturbing.
Ninja Turtle space alien fucking creatures that
they are actually comic accurate as well. That is the scary
cool
part.
is that he did see that's one of those episodes that actually showed that he is learning, because it showed that he picked up what his daughter told him previously at the horse golf, which fuck, that's horse.
What the fuck is that?
What the fuck is you're flinging horses? Okay.
They had a trebuchet.
Oh no! When he sexual, like he was on the horse with his spider legs, and he says, like, "I'm never getting off." And the horse is crying afterwards.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
it was terrible. But he's like, he makes each of them feel like the other one's outdoing them, which they took the shells off. So it's like, okay, he did learn something, and that was cool.
And I think the moment at the end of the episode where he realizes his daughter is looking for his approval, and he realizes, oh, I can't exploit this. But it never really that
didn't do anything after that.
Yeah, that never really comes back into the forefront. It's like sort of like this sort of downer kind of ending to it, where he realizes he's got something to connect with his daughter.
And that's something I wanted to actually see more of.
Right.
Yeah, I actually agree with you guys that was something that could have been explored a little bit more. But I do feel that the way they explored it was that she's looking for her father's approval, but also hates that about herself. That it suggests that he missed that window on being able to connect with her, that she has recognized that she wants her dad's approval, and she is ready to do what it takes to not need that anymore.
Yeah, but
she's written him off.
That's more of an implied moment. It's not really directly addressed in the text.
True.
It felt like he made the right call. He was ready to do it when he saw the first part, that she's desperately seeking the approval. And then he saw that she hates that. And he was like, okay, we're just going to leave it be. That's the right call.
It definitely was the right call, but he never addressed it again. No. Like, he doesn't try to make it better. It's sort of like that moment where the rabbi tells him that Lou is badly dealing with the divorce because of the shit that he's doing.
He forgot about it.
But he comes back to it at the end. He doesn't have that comeback moment with his daughter Melissa.
It happened organically without his involvement. Is when the villain comes up to Melissa during the bar mitzvah and says, like, you're a great figure skater. And she beats the fuck out of him. Like, he's some weird creep that watches like figure skating. And he's like, no, your dad, which this is also creepy, like brings videos of you figure skating to play at the bar to his friends. And I'm sitting there like, that is the saddest sentence that's ever been like, like my daughter who I can't connect with, I bring videos of her figure skating to the bar to show my friends that have never met her.
That was Tunneler, right? Or is that his name, Tunneler? Or?
No, that was Sawblade or something.
Sawblade or something, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tunneler was the armadillo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was every sports movie cliche all at once. The dad who actually does show up to the game for the final game.
Right?
Yeah. Like Friday Night Lights.
But is that moment of Melissa, because
Hook?
It wasn't her father saying so, believed like, oh, he does actually care. He does give a shit. He just doesn't know how to
express it
and engage his daughter. Like, he just doesn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
So that is expressed, but it is definitely like a by happenstance kind of approach to it.
Whereas with Lou, he actually had that moment where he kind of addresses the problem that he's having directly to him, and at least he's trying to. And then the Monica's daughter shows up, and he's like, "Oh, there's a girl here. Never mind, Dad."
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I like that moment where he's trying to make sure his kid's okay, and it's like, "You don't have any friends. You must be really sad." It's like, "Oh no, goth chick."
Yeah, of course it was a goth chick.
Yeah, of course.
I mean,
it was the goth
we've
chick.
all been there.
Yeah.
We're all still there.
Yep. I was the weird kid that played like Magic the Gathering and had very awkward social mannerisons when I was in high school.
And you still wanted the goth chick.
Still wanted the fucking goth chick. Yes, definitely. And the goth chick was like, "You're weird. I'm kind of into it." So it worked out pretty well.
I mean, I think that's the exact story evolution that happened with Monica's kid and Lou in this one.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting her name.
It's probably like Raven fucking Darkstaff or something.
No, that's when she renames herself in season 2.
Yeah. I do love that the most fully realized of themselves character is Lou. Out of all the characters in the entire show, you've got M.O.D.O.K trying to figure out how to engage with other people. You got his wife that's trying to figure out how to be herself, but also be a celebrity at the same time. You've got Melissa, the daughter, that is trying to, she's a teenage girl that's trying to figure out her shit, like a normal pathway of like growing up.
No, I think
and then Lou is just like, I like fucking magic and my robot twin. Like he's fully realized.
I think Lou is very comfortable with who he is as a person, but I also think Monica is probably the most like comfortable with herself as well. The other Scientist Supreme at AIM.
I don't know. I mean, there was a lot of flashback triggers there. I don't know if she's actually comfortable with herself. I feel like the only reason she is the way she is because she had to prove through trauma that she could do it.
Oh yeah, like her past self, like she's definitely getting over all that. But I think she's very confident in who she is now.
Like, I am an amazing scientist. I deserve this title. Okay, I got you.
I don't know. I feel like there's so much parallel between Melissa, his daughter, and Monica, in the way that they feel about M.O.D.O.K, and not in that Monica has any kind of like daddy complex stuff to M.O.D.O.K, but it's more that, well,
it's more about it's a feminist thing where like they're getting told like you're a girl, you can't do it. Remember, like
right? Yeah,
a girl, you can't do this kind of thing.
And she came to AIM and she said herself that she'd always admired M.O.D.O.K as a scientist when she first got
never
hired.
got looked at as equal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because they both have blind spots. M.O.D.O.K doesn't have that because he lacks the self-awareness to have it. He hates Grumble for all the wrong reasons because they're not going to let him do what he wants to do. But Monica plays right into the clutches of the living corporation. And M.O.D.O.K's definitely worried that same thing could happen to his daughter.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, Monica just goes right into it. It's like, oh, I'm spending like, oh, well, you're spending all this money, yada, and like, oh, they just... Yeah, that's the thing where it's like, oh, you're great. Yeah, justify this kind of thing,
When it plays into the motivations of the characters, is that most of the characters are to be appreciated for what they can bring to AIM or the world, or whether it be pure evil or not. But M.O.D.O.K is not even about what he can bring so much as that he wants credit for anything that he's remotely associated with, including at the beginning when Monica comes up with or murders a yet to be revealed Avengers member that then immediately M.O.D.O.K takes credit for. He doesn't actually give a shit about putting things out into the world. He just wants to be seen as like the big dog. That's his motivation. Not furthering science, not science for science sake, as it's repeated multiple times. Literally, he just wants his name out there. He wants M.O.D.O.K Utopia. He wants his statues. You know, he doesn't give a shit about the science.
Yeah, in the second scene, it sets up everything that drives the character. He wants goons to touch him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Literally, just to carry him
touch
around
me while
on
I
their
hold
shoulders.
the boot. Not like
exactly.
touch me while I hold the boot.
Yeah.
He refers to himself as a God King multiple times. So I think it's pretty clear that he is
God King.
Fully just a narcissist. He's a megalomaniac that is just...
Yeah, it comes back to that point of like he doesn't necessarily want all the things. He wants to possess all the things.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So how does that compare to comic M.O.D.O.K?
Comic M.O.D.O.K is kind of a mixed bag character because you've got his original interpretations from like the 60s and 70s where he's just this ridiculous out of the world character who's there to like sort of be like the dark emanations of all of Tony Stark's like progress in technology for the sake of progress in technology. Like M.O.D.O.K's willing to decimate himself and mutate himself for the point of science for science sake, and that is Aim's like letterhead, and that's from the old school stuff. I think when you progress it into like the modern era, that M.O.D.O.K gets reinterpreted every time. I think the more nuanced take is actually Patton Oswalt's with Mind Games, where he's trying to like address the human in the superhuman. And that's something we kind of see with this series, and I think that's very much dependent on Patton Oswalt's run as a writer for the for comics.
Fair enough.
Okay,
some solid insights there.
I mean, I try sometimes.
Yeah. Now, one thing I do want to bring up that is a quick aside about the show before we continue forward is the fact that they had not one but two chances to incorporate Fing Fang Foom into the series was a real fucking joy for me.
And they fucked off with both of them.
They fucked off with both of them entirely. Like when he owned a restaurant, I think at one.
Yeah.
And then it was M.O.D.O.K writing him through his dream.
Like never-ending story style.
Never-ending story style.
Falcor.
Yeah. I love that they fucked with Fing Fang Foom and they're like still just like, nope, Danny Rand can just not be here. Like, let's not even deal with the Iron Fist here.
I mean, I'm interested to see how far they take the Hexus storyline, because I know that the original comic version came into play because they were introducing their replacement for Captain Marvel for the Dark Avengers series, and Hexus was his like primary villain. I'm wondering if they're actually going to go with the whole Dark Avengers storyline, at least in this version, if not the MCU. And I'm kind of curious on that one.
Yeah, I did not know until looking into stuff for this episode is that was actually a Grant Morrison creation.
Yep.
Was the Hexus. So, which makes sense because he's so anti-establishment in the first place that having a living corporation sounds about right for his fucking brand.
I mean, I feel it's also right for his brand that Hexus has almost like just one letter away from being a cartoon villain from Fern Gully, and it's almost the same exact thing.
First Avatar, and now
Grant Morrison, like both ripping off Fern Gully.
Yeah. It was an animated movie before its time.
I still love it. I still love it.
I mean, I have it on DVD. I'm not really joking about that.
It's like an animated version of Frankenfurter when he does that Toxic Love song. So
yeah,
it's true. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that's actually Tim Curry though. And it's like, a lot of people don't though.
One of his greatest roles, in my opinion.
I loved him in that role.
Yeah, the voice casting on Fern Gully was actually really good too.
Up there.
Yeah.
For me, it was Tim Curry, Robin Williams. That's really what.
Fair. Yeah, 100%.
That was before Robin Williams did the genie in Aladdin. That's the only reason they could afford him for it.
Yep.
But like the voice casting in this, it's like some just amazing talent just out of the woodwork and just dropped in for throwaway roles.
It's like I feel like it's things they want to succeed. They put the money in the like Invincible.
Yeah,
the voice casting on that is fucking crazy,
amazing.
At M.O.D.O.K again, the voice casting just so much talent. You know, like they had to pay.
Yeah,
they paid for this.
Yeah.
Like it's not like it's just. These guys needed work, so we're going to give them what they want. No, those fuckers wrote their own check, basically.
Mm-hmm.
It also depends on the relationships that you build. I mean, because this is the what is it, Stupid Productions or whatever it is, the Robot Chicken people, they've been doing this for close to 20 years.
I feel like John Hamm's been on Robot Chicken.
Yeah, so they have these relationships with actors that do voices for Robot Chicken. So it's more of like, hey, we're doing this new thing, and especially this was being produced during COVID. The number of actors that do voice acting stuff that ended up having like a little sound booth in their closet with a good microphone and did sound recordings at home. And I know for a fact, just from personal conversations about some voice actors that have done that themselves, that was the case during COVID. So there was probably actors being around like, well, I can't actually physically act in person. So yeah, I guess I'll play AIM
Goon number 3.
Yeah, number 3 on this one. Like, I guess I'll be Fing Fang Foom. I don't care. Just because fuck it. They're not doing anything better. And they're like, fucking scale. I don't care. These are guys that I've worked with before. They're really fun. It's a fun thing to throw my hat in. So I don't think they had to go too hard in the wallet.
Yeah, like I know that the one voice actor who played the wife, I know her from she was in Dexter and she was in she's in Lucifer. She plays the forensic chick in the Lucifer series, which I love. I love that show. That's just the right amount of cheese with.
Yeah, I need to catch up on that show because I very much enjoyed
once Netflix hit it though, Netflix got it and they put money in it. Like, yo,
yeah,
yeah,
hell yeah.
So no, so I recognized her voice, and there's a couple other people that
Lou. I recognized him almost immediately.
Yeah.
The daughter's Melissa Fumero from the Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yep.
Yeah, Lou's from what was that show with Don Cheadle? No, he played Don Cheadle. It was a Showtime show.
Oh shit.
Ben something or other.
Yeah.
That's who voices Lou.
Yeah.
He sounded like Kevin from fucking Kids in the Hall a little bit.
Oh, he did.
Definitely did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Ben Schwarmer or something like that, but that's where I knew him from.
Ben Schwartz.
Schwartz.
Ben
I was
Schwartz.
close.
Yeah.
I know him from what's that other show? It's Parks and Rec, and also I think he's in Girls.
Was he in Girls as well?
Was he in Girls?
No, that other one. Shit, I can't remember the name now.
But so like I'm like, okay, well this makes sense. He did really well as Lou.
Yeah.
Like
I feel like Lou was probably some of the most fun voice acting that any of the voice actors could do. Like the lines that Lou was delivering were fucking like stupid fun. Just
I feel
goofy.
like his level of annoying with his lines far surpassed like M.O.D.O.K's like annoying lines. It's weird. Like you're right.
Really?
Lou, I like Lou. Because he was just so like he didn't give a fuck, and
he gave no fucks.
And I just respect that about Lou. I guess. Where I come from. Like the way they wrote him was like he gave no fucks. So like even though some of his lines were really annoying, M.O.D.O.K gave such a fuck that when some of his lines got annoying, it was just grating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's kind of what I mean.
Also, I think part of the reason why I appreciated Lou is because it was like maybe 1 or 2 steps most removed from how I was when I was his age, where I was just the awkward kid that really, I don't know. I was talking about this weekend that I was really into ants. Like I watched ant documentaries and read all sorts of information on ants, and I was like really into ants. And there's always that kid, if it's not you, it's somebody you knew growing up. There was just that weird kid that was into like some weird information, learned how to do magic or
So this was a deep wound for you.
This was but I was like, you fucking leave him alone. Like he's just being himself. He'll grow into it. I'm just really like protective of Lou.
But I feel like it's not like that now, though. I mean, if people are into something, they're just into it. Like, who gives a fuck, really?
Yeah, I'm on Team Protect Lou as well, because it was really, really nice in a show like this to see a character without any malice who just has self-realization and is okay with it. He wants a bar mitzvah suit, but he's not going to buy one that doesn't have big enough sleeves to release doves at the party.
So I'm going to release doves.
And then when we get to Murder World, it's great. I saw as soon as the second Lou was introduced, I was like, yes, here we go. Even better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, but then like there's that one creepy shot where he like fucking chloroforms the damn pigeon. You're like, that's not a dove, buddy.
Oh yeah,
that's not a dove, buddy. That was so creepy.
Oh god,
that was, I think, the one single moment that it took like Lou's weirdness into a very dark place.
Yes,
and everything else was more like
maybe something
lighthearted and definitely weirdo and maybe like problematically weird in some aspects, but not that level.
Yeah, he almost feels like the Flanders kids on steroids.
Ooh, yeah.
Good call.
Yeah.
Good call.
I mean,
same hair too.
He's still M.O.D.O.K's child.
Yeah,
and
that's
he's
true.
still being raised by two supervillains.
Essentially,
So, your kid's not going to come out star.
And now there's
citizen.
2 of them.
Yeah. I mean, no, there isn't anymore. They're all gone.
They're all gone. I want it all.
And I do want to touch on that a little bit more before we finish, which we're about at the end here, is that the fact that the younger M.O.D.O.K showed him that the only thing that is preventing him from reaching his dream, the thing he's been working towards, is letting his family die.
No. It's like, it's not so much letting him, it's not so much restricting him. It's like, you need to have this family that you care so deeply about that you get motivated by the fact that they die to create a better world. It's like, that's...
But that's been the call for heroes too. Like they do the thing because the great loss, so it kind of makes sense.
But I see it.
The animation on M.O.D.O.K's face when he looks down and there's the realization he's letting it happen. That he's not going to do anything to try to prevent,
because he's like, I can't do it, but I'm also, it's like Batman. I said I'm going to kill you. Doesn't mean I have to stop it.
Doesn't mean I have to save you.
It doesn't even have to save you. That was totally like...
I mean, if I want to really ruin this, there's that Star Wars moment. It's like, I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I can have the strength for
it. So legit, if there was any worries about getting on Team M.O.D.O.K, the last episode really kind of removed that possibility, that he literally chose to let his family die so he could achieve his utopia. That and then at the end, and I agree with what Jack was saying, it wasn't a matter of realizing that he was wrong. He just feels like he plays by a different set of rules and can have it all, that he can still have the utopia and the family.
Yeah.
And it's possession.
Yeah.
It is definitely not because he, cares about them. It's that they are a certain value to him.
Right.
But we already know he can be selfless and giving because he bought everyone Meatloaf at Night Loaf. Even though the whole team had used up all of their tokens, he came in and took care of it.
Which also tokens, why is that a thing that bought, I'm wandering around the house in a fucking bathrobe and fucking underwear being like, token, why'd you have to get token? Why do you need tokens for Meatloaf? Why not just just fucked up over Meatloaf tokens? Why was that a thing they had to put out there to ruin my mind for a day? Thinking about why fucking Meatloaf tokens. Jesus Christ.
I think you let this show get a little too deep into you.
Do you have to go to a separate fucking thing like a beer tent at a fucking festival and get your beer? You turn in money for fucking Meatloaf tokens and you go to another fucking.
You never saw them actually pull out money. Maybe that was the.
Oh, this is worse. What you're suggesting,
you never saw them. You never saw cash at all.
What you're suggesting is this universe is a universe tokens. Where there are individual tokens for specific needs. So you have that, the dude that works at the arcade that has the quarters and nickels thing that he can chime out on the side of his
I think
belt.
The show has opened up a deep one on Hobbit.
But it's just fucking Meatloaf tokens, and the people at the mint that are making these tokens are are you just Meatloaf, not just meat, not food, but just specifically just Meatloaf is what this token. Cool. We're getting out of hand. We can't do this.
All right.
It has to be noted. M.O.D.O.K just pays with Venmo.
Right.
Yeah. He gets paid by and pays out all Venmo transactions.
I wonder if Venmo threw some money the M.O.D.O.K show way to get that plug or not, or if
probably
it's possible, or if anything they wrote it in, then went
Walmart
doesn't hurt to send an email. Okay, we can mention you guys. And Venmo's just counting those fucking big M.O.D.O.K ducats that they're getting from all the number of people that are
Disney money. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
All those tokens are getting from M.O.D.O.K.
They're getting paid in Meatloaf tokens.
Meatloaf tokens might be the name of this episode.
All the gold. He said it was on Meatloaf tokens.
No, paid in Meatloaf tokens.
Paid in Meatloaf tokens.
It's solid. Jesus.
All right.
Wait, you all are getting paid?
Right?
Yeah. Oh.
So, I think that's a great place to end this here. So thank you so much for listening to this episode of Geeks Under the Influence on Marvel's M.O.D.O.K. I would say that, it definitely has some room to grow. a little bit. I think there's a lot more opportunity there that wasn't properly explored in the first season, but I think there's a chance that could be more fleshed out in the second season, which I think it's already been optioned for season 2. I'm not for sure on that, but
already it's Sunday.
I mean, there's a lot of shows that are getting optioned for season 2 before it even releases, so that's become pretty standard.
But they've also not been like.
I mean,
M.O.D.O.K.
I feel like Hulu's the dumping ground that Disney's pushing all their Marvel products to. So
all the stuff that isn't like part of the MCU for sure. Yeah,
that they can play off of with
Yeah, it's the adult playground.
Yep. And definitely M.O.D.O.K. is a fucking playground of just nonsense that's occurring.
Totally.
So we want to hear what you think about the M.O.D.O.K. series. Let us know by hitting us up on our email, geeksundertheinfluence@gmail.com. Hit us up on all our social media. That's at GUIPodcast.com. You can find all those links. That's also where you can find links to the other shows on the network and links to rate, review, and subscribe all the shows on the network. So definitely make sure to do that. And there's also our hotline number, 804-505-4484. That's 804-505-4GUI. You can send voicemails, texts, picture messages, dump those genitals out, send them our way.
Biggest, juiciest dicks.
Big dicks. Show us your Meatloafs, your Night Loafs,
your Wondermans,
your Wondermans in the oh dear God, this is gonna come to bite me in the ass.
The avalanche is coming.
Yeah, the avalanche is coming. So, we'll see you next time for another episode of Geeks Under the Influence. Thank you to my panel for their insights on M.O.D.O.K. Thanks to the Creep-A-Zoids for their intro and outdoor music, Dead by Dawn. And we'll find you next time. I'm Myke the Hobbit. Join us or die.
Shut the fuck up, Hobbit.
Jesus Christ.
Join us or die. Join us or die. Or I will swallow your soul.
GUIPodcast.com.
In time, you will learn that M.O.D.O.K. likes those big old juicy butts.